Greasy hair sucks. So how do you fix it? Let's get into it. What's up guys, Trav White here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we talk all about the science of grooming and style so you can look your best at all times. And if that interests you, please smash that like and subscribe button and join the family. We also have an amazing, and that's underselling it, amazing Facebook community of men who are on their hair and beard growth journey. So if you're struggling, then hit the link in the description and come join the Mannered Maidens Facebook group. Okay, on to the video. Why is your hair oily, right? Especially after you might have just washed it and it gets oily in 24 to 48 hours and it's all of a sudden really greasy again. Or maybe it's greasy on your scalp, but your ends are really dry. So the first thing that I'm gonna say is that I'm gonna give you 5 possible scenarios on why this is happening, but that doesn't mean that all of these are the problem. So don't go and change all 5 things at once because then you actually won't know the specific reason. So my advice would be to try one thing at a time, give it about 1 to 2 weeks, and then reassess. And if your hair is still overly greasy, try the next thing. So it could take you maybe a couple of months to diagnose, but once you figure it out, then you can manage your greasy hair much, much easier. But enough prologue. Let's get into the content. The first reason that your hair could be overly greasy is from overwashing. And this sounds counterintuitive. You'd think that if you overwashed your hair, it would get really dry. But when you strip the oils from your hair daily or multiple times a day, if you're washing 2 to 3 times a day, your sebaceous glands, which produce your own natural hair oils, tend to kick into overdrive and overproduce. And they go into sebum restoration mode and then they reproduce a bunch of sebum because it keeps getting stripped away. And over time, your scalp starts to produce more and more and more sebum. So gradually cutting back on your washes can help your sebaceous glands get back onto a normal production cycle. But I would say don't cut back too quickly. If you just quit cold turkey,
I quit. I quit, Mr. White.
You're probably still gonna deal with really greasy hair for a while. You should definitely wean off. So if you do a daily wash, cut it back to 6 times per week, and then to 5 times per week, then 4, and then 3, and then try to stick to a 2 to 3 times per week wash schedule. However, this isn't always the case for everyone. I know many men who have said,
yeah, I've tried the whole train my scalp and produce less oil thing,
and it just didn't work. So if that's the case for you, then it might be point number 2, which is greasy hair is your natural hair type. It's your genetics, your hormones, call it whatever you want, but you were born with it. Don't worry, you can fight it. If you don't have my hair type PDF, which you can download it for free in the description, there are 3 sections that you're gonna wanna look at that can affect your grease buildup. The first one is your curl pattern. So if you have a 1 or a 2A curl pattern like I have, and maybe a 2B, your hair tends to get oilier much faster. This is because with straight and slightly wavy hair, oil moves down your hair shaft much easier than on curly hair. If you have naturally curly hair, your oils won't travel down the hair shaft as easily, which is why curly hair tends to need more moisture than straight hair. The next thing you're gonna wanna look at on that PDF is your density, your scalp density. If you have thin or medium density hair, which is basically just the follicle proximity per square inch on your head, then your sebum has basically less hair to spread oil around on, so it tends to look greasier. And finally, the third section you'll wanna look at are your scalp moisture levels. If you have an overly oily scalp or oily roots and dry ends, then your hair will grease up quicker simply due to overactive sebaceous glands that nature decided to give you and curse you with. Although it's not always a curse, people with oily skin do tend to not age as fast, so it is a bittersweet deal. But imagine a guy with a perfect storm for greasy hair, right? His curl pattern is straight or slightly wavy, he has thin or medium density, and he has an oily scalp naturally. If you have 1, 2, or all 3 of these things, then chances are you might struggle with oily hair a lot more than other people.
This is the worst.
So what can you do? Well, the best answer I can give you is to use a clarifying shampoo every 2 to 4 weeks. And this is something that has a much stronger surfactant than a gentle shampoo or a co-wash. Now, sometimes that could mean using a sulfate shampoo with something like ammonium lauryl sulfate or sodium LAURETH sulfate. And I know that I've said typically avoid using sulfate shampoos in the past, but in this specific case, I'd recommend adding a clarifying sulfate shampoo to your regimen, but only use it either bi-weekly or once per month. The other option, if you want to stay sulfate free, or the option to use in between these washes, is to make sure that the main detergent in your other shampoo has a stronger anionic surfactant. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'd recommend watching my YouTube video where I break down all the different types of surfactants in shampoos and conditioners. I explain each one from the strongest all the way to the gentlest. And if you didn't see that video, basically anionic surfactants are the strongest detergents chemists can put in shampoos. And while sulfates are anionic surfactants, there are milder sulfate-free anionic surfactants that still clarify. My personal favorite being sulfonates. So something like a sodium C14 to 16 sulfonate is a really good option. But the most important thing is to make sure that the shampoo is marketed as a clarifying or a cleansing shampoo, because sometimes shampoos can contain sulfates or sulfonates, but then they add a bunch of moisturizing ingredients to the formula to try and re-moisturize your hair after stripping it. So clarifying shampoos really get in and cleanse that scalp and fight that grease. And my personal favorite cleansing shampoo is from Nioxin. And yes, it does have sodium LAURETH sulfate in it, which is why I only use it once every 4 to 6 weeks to do a clarifying wash. But it really does help strip everything, start from a clean slate, and they do also have color safe options as well if your hair is colored. But I will link to several options of cleansing shampoos in the description, some with and some without sulfates. Okay, so reason number 3 is it's your diet. Now, if it's not your genetics, try looking at what you're putting into your body. You are what you eat. And I actually read a study in the Journal of Dermatology and Endocrinology that Western diets, which are greasy fried foods, saturated fats, and refined carbohydrates, basically cause your sebaceous glands to kick into overdrive as well and overproduce, leading to oily skin and greasy hair. So that McDonald's is actually making your hair greasy. And there's also a correlation between less sebum production and a low glycemic index diet that's high in vegetables, fruits, lean meats, and omega-3 fatty acids. And in fact, there was a direct link to omega-3 fats and a decrease in the inflammatory factors that cause like skin acne. There's also some evidence for less sebum production on a caloric restriction as well. So before you write it off as genetics, try changing up your diet, because there is some evidence for eating a diet rich in vitamins, healthy fats, lean proteins that balance out your sebum production. So opting for whole grains as opposed to refined carbs, or grilled fish instead of fried, steamed veggies instead of the French fries. As the founder of modern medicine, Hippocrates stated, "Let food be your medicine, and let medicine be your food." Okay, reason number 4, your hair is greasy, is because you're over conditioning or using too much conditioning products, leave-in conditioners, oils. You're using too much. So yes, there is such a thing as conditioner buildup, right? Conditioners contain cationic surfactants like benzene chloride or cetrimonium chloride. There's a lot of others, but those are the main ones, which contain a positive charge. And this positive charge binds to the negative charge of your hair. Now, when used occasionally and with the right surrounding formulas and the right surrounding ingredients, these products are incredibly softening and conditioning for your hair. But when you overuse these conditioners, you can start to have what's called cationic buildup, which are these cationic surfactants binding and sticking to your hair and building up over time. This cationic buildup can make your hair feel heavy, it can make it feel greasy, it can make it feel weighed down or flat. And there is some evidence showing that sulfonates are actually better at removing cationic buildup than sulfates. But for my guys who don't want to shampoo every day but still want to condition daily, this could be a reason that your hair is still feeling greasy. And if you're a guy who washes with a conditioner and then adds, a leave-in conditioner or an oil, a hair oil on top of that, you're just packing on the oils. And since regular conditioners don't have detergents to remove your sebum in your scalp oil, your sebum is still accumulating on top of all of this as well. So there's just oil stacked on oil stacked on oil. My suggestion option is if you want to wash your hair with a conditioner in between your shampoo days, to wash with a cleansing conditioner. And this is called a co-wash. And it's a conditioner with a mild detergent in it. It's much milder than the detergent in your shampoo, but it is still cleansing. So most people with naturally dry or naturally curly hair might only do co-washes and not shampoo their hair at all. This is called a no poo or a low poo, but I wouldn't suggest that for greasy hair. Another option is to do your clarifying wash and then do your best to just let it go for 3 or 4 days until your next wash. And if you're struggling with greasy hair, you can use something like a dry shampoo. It says refresh your hair without visible residue. So that's the one that I've been using, and you can use a dry shampoo in between your wash days until you come back to, you know, your next clarifying wash or something in between. So the fifth and final reason your hair is greasy is that you're using the wrong shampoo and conditioner for your hair type. Now, I've already mentioned that men with greasy hair should be using a cleansing or clarifying shampoo once a month, but what should you use in between those washes and which ones should you avoid? So if you have greasy hair, chances are you should avoid shampoos marketed as moisturizing or hydrating shampoos. And these are shampoos with very gentle surfactants as their main detergent. They'll use something like a decylglucoside or a sodium lauryl lactylate. And you'll know that those are the main detergents because it's gonna be the first or second ingredient after water. So while these are excellent mild detergents for people who have dry hair trying to moisturize their scalp and their hair, they are not the strongest really for fighting off an oily scalp. And in addition to that once per month clarifying wash, I'd recommend getting a sulfate-free shampoo, but something again with like sodium C14 to 16 sulfonate, which is found in OGX, or a sodium lauryl methyl isethionate, which is found in Beard brand. And these are anionic surfactants that are not as strong as sulfates, but are still really clarifying, and they're a great option to use in between your clarifying wash days to help keep your scalp balanced. Okay, so I decided to throw in a bonus reason, and it's a bonus because I doubt it's the main cause of oily hair, but it can contribute, and that is to stop running your hands through your hair all the time. Your hands are really, really oily, and I know it's tempting to stroke your epic locks, but you're really just adding more oils to your hair. So unless you're like putting it up or moving it out of your face, try to touch it as little as possible. And that's all I have for you guys in this video. Hopefully I shed some light on the reasons your hair might be too oily or greasy and how to fix it. See you in the next one. Peace. Bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. That's why I don't sing. La croix. Hydration. Ow. Man, I need to get more sleep. Sometimes that could mean actually using a sulfate shampoo. I can't say shampoo right now. Take 3. Dude, why is this jumping around and skipping all the time?